Hey, what's up? We got about 10 minutes left before showtime. Get your cocktail ready. I'll see you soon. you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as put some comments in the chat. I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing from you. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back to Cocktails and Convo. I'm your host, Dr. Sean Rux. First and foremost, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in for our kickoff episode that premiered on July 1st. Thank you for your love, thank you for your feedback, and thank you for your support. We're going to continue to do whatever we can to ensure we bring you a high quality program with some amazing guests. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you put some comments in the chat as I'm absolutely interested in your thoughts. I'm excited about today's show. I'm super amped up about our amazing guests that we have. Let's just jump right in. Cocktails and Convo.
My first guest has an incredible story. She's a best-selling author, activist, motivational speaker, and so much more. Let's welcome Ms. Jamila T. Davis. Jamila T. Davis, thank you so much for joining.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh man, it's blessed to have you here. But listen, before we get into our dialogue, this is Cocktails and Convo.
Yes.
So we're gonna do a little cocktail thing.
Okay.
This is what I like to call lemon head. Lemon head, just a little white grape Ciroc with a little simply lemonade with a little lemon garnish on the side. So let us toast.
Okay.
Let us toast to
your new podcast that is amazing, by the way.
All right, thank you
that
very
first
much.
episode.
That's perfect.
Cheers.
All right. So listen, I'm gonna start with 6 words.
Okay.
Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. Let's talk about it.
Wow. Our nation is in a serious crisis. But the truth about it, Dr. Rux, is that it's been in a crisis. Yeah. We're just finding out more about what's going on. And that's like the power of social media. Because for years, just think about it. Jim Crow days, even before that.
400 plus.
You know how black people have been hurt and just treated so poorly, and then everybody seems to cover it up. And even in these cases, you see that they still have been. Breonna Taylor, we still haven't arrested, these officers. Why is that?
Why is that?
Because it's the culture not to hurt them, right? So we have to protect them at all costs. So regardless if what they do is right or wrong, we have to protect our officers. And that's been the state of America.
Absolutely. So even sticking with Breonna Taylor, right? We know that the officers have not been arrested. What can we do? Like we keep making noise. We keep making noise. Let
me tell you what me and my team is going to do.
There it is.
So,
all right.
I'm grateful to be involved with the Until Freedom team, and I love the fact that they have so much wisdom in organizing. One of the things that happened in Ahmaud Arbery case, right, is that they surrounded the cops' home. Right? It was real noise being made, right? It's what I call applying the pressure, right? For real, you could write, you could demand, you could say, but when they see you and you so visible and you refuse to leave, right? Meaning like you can't just go do a protest and a rally because they looking at their clock. All right, they'll be going by 2, 3. You have to actually take turns. And you have to say something that we said at MDC when the lights and the heat went off for prisoners. Right. We said we are not leaving until the lights and the heat turn back on. And guess what? We didn't leave until the lights and the heat turned back on. We have to really feel that same type of way about Breonna and go organize.
Organize. That's the key word.
Organize, and not just organize at the homes of all the officers, because let's talk about what that's going to do. Even if they don't get a conviction. But when you have folks outside your home and you no longer feel comfortable getting your morning newspaper, you understand what I'm saying? It's going to be a different kind of nudge on the spirit, right? When your neighbors is looking at you like, Henry, we just want him gone because this is too much on our block, right? It's a different kind of thing. And I think that it's time for them to feel the energy that we've been feeling. How about that?
For so long.
Correct.
One of the things I always say is that when you're uncomfortable, that's when things happen. That's when you grow. That's when change happens.
Yes.
As long as you're comfortable, it's going to be status
Well,
quo.
we have to make people feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing about us. We tend not to want to do that. We tend to want to wish and to pray and to hope. But we've been doing that forever. So that strategy doesn't work. So what I have loved about the Ahmaud Arbery case and the George Floyd case is that we came on one accord. Whether it be black, whether it be white, folks that said enough is enough. That's what it was.
Right.
Now, I was just in Kentucky. Right? The rally was nice. It was comfortable. It was cool. It was in front of the Attorney General's office, but then we went home. You know, in this case, I feel like we got to apply the pressure and we can't go home, if that makes sense.
Shifts. Organized shifts.
Correct.
Organized shifts.
Buses coming in. I mean, folks is outraged. And we're in COVID. Folks are still able to work remotely, right? Educators are home for the summer. Some folks will get together and be like, enough is enough. So we got to come together and get unified with this, and we got to apply the pressure.
What if I'm someone who is interested in supporting the movement, right? But maybe due to whatever circumstance, I can't physically get in the grind. Like, what can I do?
You can donate money. And I say everybody's not built for the front line.
Right.
So some of us have said, I will die for this. So for me, I don't want to die, but I will die for this. I love my people so much that I'm willing to die for this. And that's what it takes to be a frontline soldier. You have to kind of not have fear of the unknown. So those that are fearful, I suggest, and not even just those that are fearful, have other circumstances, whatever, you don't have to be on the front line, but you can support the front line by supporting the organization. So Until Freedom, you know, that's a team of riders, folks that are relentless, that are dead serious about our people, that are willing to die for our people, pay the price for our people. So I suggest that folks support organizations such as Until Freedom.
Yes, and one of the things I love about you is that you're so into uplifting black and brown people, black and brown communities. Your work speaks volumes. And speaking of work, you got a new book out.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Yes, Built to Outlast the Storm. Oh, let me get another sip of this right here.
Take a sip. Let's cheers to that. Built to Outlast the Storm.
I'm very grateful. So for me, you know my story. I was sentenced in 2008 to 12 and a half years in federal prison for bank fraud. And the day that the judge banged the gavel, it just was like I thought my life was over. How could I survive a decade in federal prison? My kids were 9 and 11 years old when I left. Just to think I was going to be gone for a decade, I wanted to just simply die. And speaking of injustices, in my case, the white mortgage broker and the white lawyer who had the license and the knowledge of how to do this. Because I was fresh in the game. I was 25 years old. I was fresh in the game. Right. They taught me the game. However, in the end, they were sentenced to 2 years apiece, and I got a 12 and a half year sentence for the same crime. So again, all the time. So, and in my case, it was just normal, and it was hard for me to sit with that. Like, it was hard for me to sit with, it's okay. Because I realized it wasn't okay. However, I realized that God also had a purpose for my pain. And being in a place like prison, it helped me to realize what's important and what's not. So it goes back to your deathbed. On your deathbed, you're not thinking about how many degrees you got. You're not thinking about how much money you got in your bank account because you're not able to spend any of that. You're thinking about legacy. You're thinking about purpose. Like, what did I leave a mark on this earth that really meant something? And in my case, I had not. And that's kind of what shifted me into the mode that I'm in, the beast mode I'm in. Like, people be like, yo, why? Because I've been given a second chance at life, and I almost didn't think that would happen. So I go hard because I know I have to go hard, because I know what it feels like to not have that chance, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna go there a little bit. In the book, I was reading about how there was even a time when you were contemplating suicide.
Absolutely.
And we know that there are so many people who struggle with that, right? And may not have a way out. So even just now, give some encouraging words to some people who may be having those thoughts?
I just say, hold on one day. The difference a day can make. It's real. So, like, you got to understand that there's purpose in your pain. When you realize that there's purpose in your pain, it gives you passion and motivation to move on. When you think I'm just being hurt for no reason or nothing good is going to come out this situation, then you don't have the proper mindset. So if you're not looking for the good, chances are you're not going to find it. And for me, I was able to find opportunity in my pain. How can I make the best out of this time? What lesson can I learn out this situation? When you look for those things, then you're going to purpose yourself to win. And you're going to get a drive like no other because you're also going to see what it was without. So when you come to the other side, you're going to be joyful and really excited. So again, the message is hold on, push ahead. I promise you, right? You're built to outlast the storm.
And you heard it from Jamila. She said there's opportunity in pain. We all go through stuff, but that doesn't mean that that's quitting time. You keep going, you keep forging ahead. You heard it here first. We're going to be right back with the People Want to Know segment. Welcome back to Cocktails and Convo. Now we're going to get into the segment The People Want to Know. And this is just a segment where we take questions from people all over and do our best to answer those questions. So, Jamila, you're going to help me out here. Okay. So first we got Natasha from Connecticut. She wants to know, who would you like to see in the next versus battle?
In the next versus battle. That's a good one. Who do I want to see in the next versus battle?
I know Jada and Fabulous.
That was cool. But I got one for you.
What's that?
Beyonce and Lauryn Hill. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Oh, okay. Beyonce and Lauryn Hill. As much as I love the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, though, I gotta go with B.
B got a lot of hits.
Because the catalog.
Yeah, her catalog is crazy, but that's still the queens. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like they did the Jill Scott and Erykah Badu. That was cool. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Yeah. But I want to see some of the queens really hit the stage on Versus. I think that'd be dope.
I would like to see Foxy Brown, Lil' Kim.
Okay. Well, good luck at making that happen, but I guess I would like to see that too. But good luck on that one.
Okay. All right. So you heard it, Natasha. You heard it, Lauryn Hill, Beyonce.
Let's go.
Next we have Craig from Brooklyn. Craig wants to know if Colin Kaepernick will ever play in the NFL again.
Well, you know what? Black Lives Matter. And they turning up with this Black Lives Matter movement. They said this is one of the biggest movements that has ever hit our country. So with that said, I feel like conversations of that, the pressing is going to continue to press. And we may see him back on the field, and I hope so.
I mean, it would definitely be nice to see him out there. I know he's been staying consistent, staying in shape, but I don't believe in giving up the opportunity. But will it ever be the same for him? I wonder if his hunger
I don't know if it's going to ever be the same, but regardless of what, he's left something way greater than any football player I've ever known. You know, so it's not always about the touchdown and the actual. I feel like he's made the touchdown and just change. And the fact that even at all the protests and the rallies we're at, everybody's down on one knee. You know,
he's the initial starter of this.
He was like the prophet of it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he's made a mark. He's left a legacy that his kids and his kids will be greatly proud of. So if he never returns, to be honest, it would be an honor for them if he returns. But if he never returns, he's done great things on this planet.
Stand for something to fall for anything. Definitely a shout out to Kaepernick. And Stacy from Atlanta wants to know, who's a better group, 112 or Jagged Edge?
Whoa, I saw that versus battle, and that battle was good. I mean, I like both, but however, Jagged Edge, the Let's Get Married whole CD,
that's a hit.
That just, I mean, I used to listen to that on steady repeat. However, 112 and that whole era was just a great time in life.
Absolutely.
So I got to give a shout out to 112. But if I got to choose, I'm going with Jagged Edge.
That's interesting because I'm 112.
Yes, you're a 112 type of guy.
112, man. They had a lot of heat.
Yeah, I thought I told you that we won't stop.
Peaches and cream and all that.
I mean, Bad Boy. Definitely a fan of Bad Boy. But just as far as R&B and just the melodies and the soul, I got to take it out with Jagged Edge.
All right. You heard it, Stacey. Jamila's with Jagged Edge. Remember, send your questions in to Dr. Sean Ruxway at gmail.com for the People Want to Know segment. Listen, we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going. The other day, I saw Trump, and he says something along the lines of the Black Lives Matter movement is embracing hate. It's a symbol of hate. And me personally, I totally disagree with that. Black Lives Matter is not a symbol of hate. If anything, it's just the opposite. It's a movement of hope. It's a symbol of resilience. It's a symbol of America, right? It's a symbol of America and America's promise to do better for people. And the reality is that promise has been broken since this country's inception, right? So there's work that we need to do on the end of that. But to call the Black Lives Matter movement a symbol of hate, to me,
so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What does the devil come to do? The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy.
Absolutely.
And he is the great deceiver, the devil, right? So I would say he has the spirit of his father. So the spirit of his father is going to try to detract, what's real and make you believe what they want you to believe. So it's okay. I think at this particular point, I don't think anyone that really has a good soul or good heart could really look at him and anything that he symbolizes or does or has said as respectable. So at the end of the day, whose child is he? I feel like he's a child of Satan. I actually, you don't want me to go and compare, but if you go back in time in history to Hitler, I feel like the both of them have very similar personalities. Right now, Hitler might have been able to get away with more because of the structure of the political system. He had more dictatorship than anything. But if we had a dictatorship in America, I would, bet that Trump and Hitler would be neck and neck as far as hate.
Have you seen any of the clips of people degrading the Black Lives Matter?
I saw a lot of the clips of people, but this is good. It's good, not what they're doing, but it's good so we know. Right? See, my mother taught me that racism in the South was blatant. She grew up in the South. Right. So in the South, they'll call you nigger girl and they'll let you know how they feel. You see, racism in certain other parts has been hidden for so long that we see it, but then we kind of act like it doesn't exist. Some of this is necessary so that our conscious mind state can understand. We got a lot of folks out here that hate us. So when you understand that, you'll be prepared more so for the battle that you have to go through. Right? And there's still a big battle up ahead.
And so much hate, but our people are so resilient, so beautiful.
We was born to be that way. So
strong. So in the midst of all that, we still find ways to shine. We still find ways.
But we're aligning because now we also come from a traumatized history, right? Folks that were ripped away from their homeland, brought to a foreign land, stripped of their beliefs, their religion, everything that they knew and loved, and taught someone else's system. There's years and years of packed trauma amongst our people, from the house Negro and the field Negro and the lighter skin and the black skin. So we've been taught to hate one another and hate ourselves. So what I'm loving about this time in history is that we are developing not only resilience, but pride in our culture. We're beginning to love one another. We're getting, in a season where we stand with one another on the battlefield. So I believe in that unity, family, reconciling, healing is taking place amongst our people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So I want to talk about the book a little more.
Okay.
Tell people where they can get the book.
You can get the book at Amazon.com, or you can get your signed copy at JamilaTDavis.com. That's JamilaTDavis.com.
And you see, I got the book right here. Once again, built to outlast the storm.
Love the notes.
Oh, listen, I'm taking notes and all that, man. The 12 points of turning a setback into a major comeback. And before you leave, I want to make sure that I get a signed copy.
Yes, you will definitely get that.
And before we finish up, I do want to talk about an idea that came up in the book around self-care. Right? We spend so much time pouring into others that oftentimes we neglect taking care of ourselves. We neglect to fill our own buckets up. So talk about the importance of that.
It's so important because it leaves us with regrets, right? So for me, when I was incarcerated, before incarceration, I didn't even know what I liked because I was doing everything that everybody else liked. So I was such a people pleaser that I did, whatever the boyfriend wanted or the kid, like I was doing what everybody else wanted, but I didn't know what I wanted. Right? So it was in that place that I had to find myself. And when I found myself and I learned that happiness, true happiness, comes from the inside out, it changed my life. And I began to deal with depression, which I had for years. And I didn't know where that depression came from. But the truth be told, Dr. Rux, is when we're not living in purpose, we're not doing the very thing that God created us to do. And the thing he created us to do brings us joy. right? Because he knows us, right? And we're not operating in that, then there's no joy, there's no happiness, there's no fulfillment. So when I learned to tap into that thing, that was a big part of self-care for me. So being on purpose is self-care. So when I find things try to take my attention or time that don't align with self-care and purpose, guess what I do? Pew!
Absolutely, and we all have gifts. You align with your message is clearly aligned to the fact that we all have gifts to share with the world.
That's right.
And when we don't tap into those personal gifts that we own, we're not going to be fulfilled.
Correct.
So we absolutely have.
And
to
even as an educator, it goes with kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you show a kid their gift or something that they're good at, it immediately increases their confidence. It lets them know anything is possible, and they're able to excel. So like we've been very successful at programs within the school because that's our motto. First thing is to boost the confidence of a kid. Let's tap into what they like, not what we like. What do you like?
Absolutely.
What are you good at? And then we edify them in that thing so that they can tap into their greatness.
Absolutely. Listen, it's been a pleasure having you here. I look forward to chopping it up with you some more. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Miller T. Davis.
Cheers.
If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as put some comments in the chat. I'm absolutely looking forward to hearing from you. Also, if you have some questions for the People Want to Know segment, make sure you send those questions to Dr. Sean Ruxway at gmail.com. You'll see that at the bottom of the screen along with my social media information. Get at me, Cocktails and Convo. My next guest is a young man out here making a whole lot of noise in Queens. He's an activist, organizer, and he's also the presumptive Democratic nominee for New York State Assembly, District 31. Welcome to Cocktails and Convo, Mr. Khalil Anderson. Mr. Anderson, thank you so much for joining the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Know you're busy out here hustling in these streets. But let us start with a toast.
All right.
Let us start with a toast of black excellence. Young black king doing this thing out here in Queens.
All right.
Thank you. And let's jump right in. So, the presumptive nominee.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And also,
I'm also the male state committee man for the 31st Assembly District.
okay. So doing big things. So
Yes.
what made you even get into politics? Young.
Yeah, well, my mom was an organizer with Acorn, and my father was an organizer with 1199 Union. So organizing is kind of in my family blood.
Okay.
And just seeing that issues are not being resolved by the powers that be really kind of led me into this path of really just trying to be an organizer, an activist, someone who's focused on addressing the day-to-day issues that young people and people in general are faced with. So,
And we need that. We need young people like you out here fighting for our young people as well. So Southeast Queens and Rockaway, what's going on?
That's right. Well, we've got a lot of issues: education, politics, housing, transportation, you name it. The three things that we focused on in our campaign was environmental racism, transportation, and education. In this district, just pivoting to education first, in this district, our 19 schools are owed nearly $10 million in campaign for fiscal equity funds, that stem from a early 90s lawsuit that said that black and brown schools have been systemically underfunded. And that's the money we're looking to fight for once we get to Albany. As an activist and one of the founding members of the Rockaway Youth Task Force right here in the Rockaways, we've been fighting vigorously to ensure that money comes back to this district.
Absolutely.
And more education reforms in that sense as well. So I'll get into it more.
Please, yeah, and the Rockaway Task Force, Rockaway Youth Task Force is definitely making noise out here in the Rockaway. So your affiliation with them is?
I'm one of the founding members.
Okay.
I also, from 2017 to 2019, I served as a board of director for the nonprofit.
Awesome,
Yep.
awesome. So let's say everything goes as planned, and you win the seat, District 31. What's next?
Well, we've got a lot of work to do. In my opinion, the seat could have been a lot more active around the issues of transportation, education, and environmental racism. We live in a district that is geographically isolated and segmented into three parts. We live in a district where airplanes are flying over our homes constantly. We didn't see this in Suffolk County. We didn't see this in Nassau County. I'm very clear on that this is environmental racism. We live in a community where we have massive amounts of land that is unoccupied or unused, that could be used to put folks to work in urban agriculture, could be used to put folks to work in the space of gardening and really just trying to bring back our roots of controlling the food systems that exist here in Southeast Queens and all across the state of New York. We just faced a food insecurity crisis, as it relates to COVID-19 and what we went through COVID-19. Seniors couldn't get out to get food. Folks were quarantined, so they really didn't have access. Right. So, and this is not the first time we faced a food insecurity crisis. We faced another food insecurity crisis after Sandy. This time around, we had electricity. Last time around, we didn't. And it just seemed like this is something that's perpetuating so much. So the best way to fight and resolve food insecurity is for us to take back control of our lands here in Southeast Queens and grow it ourselves. And it's very doable, as we did on Beach 58th Street, building a full acre urban farm. Yes. So that, one, young people are getting employment opportunities, but also seniors and folks in the community are getting an opportunity to grow and be one within the earth.
And there's so much space if you ride down Edgebeard, space, unoccupied space could be used for that as well as other things. So that's great work too. And of course we want to provide job opportunities for
and educational opportunities too.
Because
you can teach so much. You can teach composting. You can teach soil toiling. These are skills that our young people can leave the public education system with and take with them into the real world.
And even in reference to education, when I ride by all that space too, I even think about why can't we have a satellite campus of some sort out here in Rockaways, right? I mean, granted, you have schools in Southeast Queens, you have schools over there, but in the Rockaway area, we talk about college and career readiness, and we talk about access, but we know that there's limited access over on certain aspects of the peninsula. So I'm glad that you're working toward that as well.
I'm a CUNY graduate, two-time CUNY graduate. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in urban studies and my master's degree in urban affairs. And it was a dual degree program. I went through the SEEK program, which is an equal opportunity program that really helps young people who are either low income or academically disadvantaged really go through the school, go through college, pay for books and things of that nature. The program is really helpful in that. But one thing that's very pressing about the issues as it relates to education, higher education in the Rockaways, is we don't have a college. Our nearest college is 2 hours away by bus, by public transportation, right? Hour and a half, 2 hours. And we have among the lowest college attainment rate in the city at just 23%, just for my assembly. And the answer is access. And one of the things that's hurtful for me is, like, as I've been on the campaign trail and learning more about the issues and the constituents and what they have been asking for, is that there was a college actually slated for the Rockaways in the early 2000s. The CUNY by the Sea proposal was a plan to turn the old courthouse on 92nd Street into a marine biology type of college environment where young people can get college credit. I believe it was a 2-year school, and the proposal did get funding, but then it just disappeared. And that was our only shot and opportunity to get in college here in the Rockaways, right on 92nd Street, the courthouse. And like that would have changed generations of the lives of young people in this district. And we want to fight to see how we can renew and dust off that proposal.
Sometimes the motivation is simply seeing it.
Right.
Just simply seeing it.
Right.
And I'm going to go there. Just the fact of young black men seeing you and the work that you're doing right now. You know, I'm working to uplift the community, right? That's motivation for a young person of color. Say, you know what? I see Khalil. I aspire to do that as well. But, you know, don't talk to me about college if I can't see college, if I can't put my hands on it and grab it and walk around the campus. Yeah, I can Google. There's technology and all that. However, we need to see it. We need to touch it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we want to look at ways we can dust off that proposal and really provide the higher education institution that our young people need in this community. Just as you said, seeing it and seeing that they can attain it and achieve it really will help boost the morale, will help boost, you know, self-esteem, will help boost their ability to achieve and gain the possibility of going to higher education. And if we're not going towards the path of higher education, let's look at ways we can build skills within these young people in their high schools and in their middle schools so that at least when they leave, they have a marketable skill that they can use in the real world.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to continue that conversation, but I want us to cut right now and go to the segment that people want to know. We'll be right back with that segment. So we are back. The People Want to Know segment. We're just going to take questions from people all around and do our best to answer those questions. So Jason from Pennsylvania wants to know, what's up with Kanye running for president?
Well, to start, I think there's about 7 to 10 states he can't even qualify to be on the ballot with, including New York. He just missed the deadline to be on the ballot for New York. We voted for president 2 weeks ago. Democratic nominee and independent nominee, I think, also passed. So I don't know if it's more so for just to sell his album because he
trolling purposes.
Yeah, I'm not taking it seriously.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm not taking anything away from Kanye's production ability or his artistic ability, but the statement when he said slavery was a choice, just it doesn't sit with me the right way. And when I think of Kanye, I think of him saying slavery was a choice, and I can't separate it. So I'm looking at him in a completely different light now. So Jason from PA, we're not really feeling Kanye running for president. So Tamika from Queens wants to know, what can we do to get the violence to stop?
Absolutely. I think in this moment, let's just ensure that we're having two discussions in this moment. We're having a discussion about police violence against our people that often goes unpunished. And then the other discussion we're having is crime that exists in our neighborhoods. Whether it's gun violence, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's robbery or things like that. Those are two separate discussions. So I wanted to have them exclusive from each other, right? Because when we mix the two, we take away from the discussion of police officers not being prosecuted or not being held accountable, right? But the question that she's asking is about violence that happens in our communities. And there's so much, I come from a social science background, so there's so much, context behind why violence happens in predominantly low-income communities. There's lack of resources, there's lack of direction, there's lack of programs, things to channel the young people or middle-aged people. Employment opportunities are all connected to high rates of crime. So the best way to stop it is to look at ways of dealing with the root cause, right? You can arrest, but you can't arrest your way out of this problem. You can't jail your way out of this problem. It's a resource problem. We need to make sure that fathers have the resources that they need to be the best fathers they can be. We need to make sure that single mothers have the resources that they need to be the best single mothers they can be. And of course, young people, making sure that every young person has an after-school program, or they're in a trade program, or they're doing something to keep themselves focused. As a young person, and just going back into my history and getting a little personal, I was a troubled young person. I'd get into fights, I'd mess up things, I'd get into arguments with teachers. I lacked direction. And one of the things that helped me get back on direction was male mentors, people in my life that helped me along the way, that tutored me, that coached me, that mentored me, that gave me haircuts, that gave me clothes, told me to shape up, told me to wear my clothes right, and really stayed on top of me. And I think that's what our young males need. As I also was a student within the District 75 system, so I had a self-contained classrooms with a lot of young people who suffered with the same issues, and because they didn't have that direction and leadership, they either ended up in gangs, teen pregnancy, or killed, right? And that's the unfortunate path for our young people if we don't get the resources that we need for these young people. There's no reason why that a school system with 1.1 million young people with a budget of $88 billion, that every single student is not in an after-school program, that every single student is not doing something productive with their lives, not just during the summertime when we see crimes spike, but also during the school year, so we can limit some of that. There's no reason why that every school in the 31st Assembly District and beyond doesn't have conflict resolution, right? Derek gets into an argument with Taekwon, at the school, and that argument boils over into the streets in front of the school, and then it boils over into the corner store, and then it never stops because it's a tit for tat. No one does one-on-ones anymore where when you fight and then it's over.
Those interventions matter.
Right.
Interventions matter,
and you need that.
Absolutely need. And that point you brought up around mentorship, you wouldn't be where you were without mentorship.
Absolutely not.
And I can tell you that I wouldn't be where I am without mentorship. And it's not just at one point. Granted, if you're lucky enough to have someone who's pouring into you in middle school, if you're lucky enough to get someone pouring into you in high school, college. I remember a short story. I was a substitute teacher, still trying to find my way through young adulthood. Nice. Yeah. I'm a substitute teacher in an elementary school, and the principal, he reminded me of James Earl Jones. His name was Cecil Wilson. And he came out of his office, and he looks at me, says, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Sean. I'm just here substituting in your school. When you're done at the end of the day, come to my office." And I'm like, damn, I didn't even start the day yet. I'm already in trouble. Yeah. So I go into his office. At the end of the day, he's sitting behind his desk in his stature. He's looking fresh. And he says, "Why are you substituting at my school?" I didn't know how to answer his question. I said, "Well, the substitute line called me, told me you needed a substitute, so I came in to substitute." Yeah. "Did you go to college?" "Yes, I went to college, sir." "Did you graduate from college?" "Yes, I graduated from college, sir." "So why are you a substitute teacher in my school?" And I couldn't answer his question, but after reflecting, he was pushing me to create a plan for my life. He said, "Come back every day this week, meet me in my office at the end of the day so we can create a 5-year plan for you." I will never forget that man. He didn't know me from a can of paint, but he saw something in me. He saw the need to pour into a young, lost black man. And I know that his guidance at that time was just what I needed to move forward through whatever my trajectory was. So that mentorship piece really resonates with me because I believe that so many of our young black and brown boys and girls could benefit from having a positive mentor role model in their life.
Absolutely. And your experience, my experience, these are not exclusive. This is the reality for a lot of our young people in these communities. And we've got to make sure that programs exist and are created and are funded so that we can make sure that young people, black males in particular, who are more susceptible, to the life that Tamika spoke about, can be, mentored and properly coached and pushed in the right direction. I can't begin to tell you where I would be if I didn't have Mr. Keith, who was one of my mentors. He lived out here or lives out here in the 40s. Or any one of the other teachers that just really, really pushed me hard because they saw something in me, but not just seeing something in a young person, but also understanding that they can be something if we invest in them. Absolutely. And we've got to go back to investing in our young people.
Tamika, you heard it from Khalil. Resources and investing in our young people. One more. So Kayla from Brooklyn wants to know, who will be the next New York City mayor?
Ooh, that's a tight one. I'm not sure. But I definitely know that whomever the next mayor is, they have to have a laser focus on police reform. Absolutely. They've got to have a laser focus on making sure summer youth can't be cut again from the budget. This is one of the essential programs that keeps crime down in our communities because it keeps young people focused and keeps money in their pocket and resources for their families. So whoever the mayor is, they need to focus on that. But they also need to focus on building a better transportation network for this city, for the state. For this city. I think it's vitally important that we're able to get around the world's largest city. And folks who live in my district that I'm running to represent have transportation that actually makes sense and works. Why is it that young people who live on the eastern end of the peninsula and go to school at Beach Channel or Channelview or Scholars Academy have to take 45 minutes to an hour to get to school every morning when there's a train that could take you in 12 minutes, the H train that used to exist. So these are the things that don't make sense and exist in our neighborhoods. And if we have a mayor that's super intentional about solving these issues, that's someone I can get behind. But there's some
we definitely have a candidate who has some experience with the police. So but who knows how it's going to turn out, and we're definitely looking forward to see and that whoever that person is has to absolutely focus on police reform, has to absolutely focus on transportation, has to absolutely focus on housing and all of those important issues that are still issues in our communities. Absolutely. So if you were going to tell the people one thing before we wrap up our cocktails and conversation, what would it be?
Well, I think the biggest thing that folks need to leave this discussion with is that young people really deserve to have leadership. Young people deserve to be seated at the table because we are setting the stage for future generations. We are creating and should be in the position to create a better life, not just for ourselves, but our folks who came before us and the folks who are going to come after us. So we need to make sure that we are in positions of power and positions of leadership, that we're trusted to do these things here, and that we're empowered to do these things here, right? One of the things that, one of the more memorable moments of the campaign was that when I was in Rosedale. And I was in Rosedale, I was hanging up flyers, social distance, everything, trying to keep our distance and everything. Mm-hmm. But I saw this group of young people who just came out of the grocery store. And they saw my poster on, the little ice machines that stand outside, the little freezers. And they saw my poster. And they said, I was wondering who's that guy, because they never seen a black male on the poster. And it's a pretty big poster, 18 by 24 poster.
Now you bragging.
And, got to know the specs. And they were asking, who is this guy? And, as we're hanging up posters, we're giving out flyers and stuff. I said, let me just stop and talk to them. And I stopped and talked to them. They said, that's you. I was like, yeah, that is me, but that's also you, right? That's also me laying the groundwork, laying the pavement for you to become the next leaders, doctors, lawyers, business owners, plumbers, specialists, and pushing you to understand that just because I'm 23 or 24 or I'm 12 or 7 doesn't mean I can't lead, doesn't mean I can't be a doctor, doesn't mean that my zip code or public housing development I live in determines my future or determines the direction that my life goes in. It means that we have to break through the barriers that have kept us chained down to these norms.
Absolutely.
Break those chains and bring back something home to these neighborhoods. And I call them kings, I call them queens. I told them that this is their moment. Whether I win or lose in that moment, I was speaking to them, we did this for them so that they can understand that they have a future at this. And they can win.
Shout out to the kids who see you and are motivated to do more. Yeah. I wish you the best of luck along this journey.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Khalil Anderson, Cocktails and Convo. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 2 of Cocktails and Convo. Hope you had a wonderful time and enjoyed yourself as much as I did. Thank you to Jamila T. Davis and Khalil Anderson for bringing the heat and dropping some jewels, as well as providing us with some food for thought. I look forward to connecting with both of them in the near future. They are both doing big things out here in these streets, so make sure you follow them. Get Jamila T. Davis's book and follow Khalil Anderson to see how he's supporting District 31 and moving forward. Until next episode, Cocktails and Convo. See you then.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Cocktails and Convo.